So I'm here with Eddie. He's been doing a lot of the coaching, and today we just want to speak a bit about the importance of just being relaxed and just generally not giving a fuck. Because what you tend to find is that when you're in conversation, if you are fully relaxed, it just helps massively to have a much better and more effective conversation. And it's not to be underestimated, because a lot of the time you hear this stuff, general advice that just be relaxed. But the impact it has on the quality of your interactions, your approaches, your conversations is actually just massive. You've probably seen it yourself, with clients and stuff. But it's just massive. It just helps you have a clearer head. It enables you to be more present with the girl, and you can actually just be able to have that much more kind of more in-depth conversation, make those jokes, have that banter, which will just elevate your conversations, basically.
A couple of things to keep in mind in order to relax. It's about where you put your attention, what you focus on. So if you're really thinking about yourself, what you're doing, then it's very hard to be relaxed. You will naturally be more awkward. So if you're constantly thinking about, right now, how am I breathing? It's gonna start to actually be a little bit stilted. Right?
And also like blinking. I've done that in the past, where it's like, if you're thinking about when you should blink, then you start blinking more, or you start like overthinking you're blinking.
In order to be more relaxed, really what you need to be doing is just put the focus on the other person. Approach it with genuine curiosity. Who is this person? Finding out who she is will actually take the attention off of yourself.
I think, a lot of the anxiety and a lot of the reasons why guys aren't relaxed is actually just in the actual approach itself, when they've decided, okay, I'm going to speak to this girl, and then it's the walking over to the girl where the build-up kind of happens. In some cases, it is also when they're actually in the interaction itself. If the girl is attractive and they're not used to speaking to attractive girls, then that can certainly be the case as well. A lot of it is just about not necessarily trying to fight against the anxiety and trying to, if you're sort of internally having this battle with the anxiety, hoping it goes away, hoping that you can somehow defeat it, it's not really going to work. A lot of the time it's just kind of embracing it, letting it kind of not necessarily consume you, but kind of flow through you. Don't try and fight against it, because the only way you can actually cure it eventually is just experience. And that's it. And most people don't, most guys, I guess, if you're watching this, you probably don't have that much experience. And so it's just going to require time and effort, and that's it. It is really a case of the more you do it, the less of it's going to be, the more manageable it is. Like you were saying before about, thinking about breathing makes it more difficult. So it's like thinking about approaching that girl, internally you're in your head, just thinking about the actual, okay, I'm approaching this girl, I'm trying to pick up this girl. That's where a lot of the anxiety rises from.
Trying to fight that nervousness doesn't help. In the same way, say you've got an early morning flight, I have to wake up in 5 hours time, I really need to get to sleep. By forcing yourself thinking about it, it doesn't make it any easier. You're not relaxing your body, right? Your body remains in that tense state. So by thinking about it and forcing yourself to relax, you're pretty much certain to remain in an anxious state, and therefore you're not going to fall asleep. So what I say to guys when I'm coaching them is, if you're nervous, great. It's a sign that you're not a fucking psychopath. If you've never approached a girl and you're not nervous, that's weird. Why aren't you nervous? You should be nervous. It's normal, right? So the main thing is, don't fight it. Accept that you're nervous. And I say to guys, if you can't actually do it well, if you can't do it smoothly, can you at least do it badly? Can you at least collect the rejection? What I would say is, don't fight the nerves, accept the nerves. So tell yourself, okay, if I can't actually approach smoothly, I can at least approach nervously.
It's about kind of embracing the nerves, but just doing it anyway, and allowing the interaction to be shit as a result. And then eventually it'll become less shit over time.
You basically set the bar so low that it has the counterintuitive effect of actually calming you down. I know, because I'm a musician, so I remember the first couple of times I played in front of a crowd, I was so nervous. And I remember the first 2 times that I performed, it was awful. Like, my fingers just couldn't move. I couldn't even play the most basic parts of the melody. I bombed. But then what happened was after bombing, I realized, okay, yeah, that was kind of embarrassing, but you know, I'm still alive. You know.
So you've lost it all. So now you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
I've lost it all, so there's nothing to lose. So now, if you ask me to play, pretty much there's no real nerves there.
And the way to look at it, when you think about it actually rationally, when you're in the case of approaching a girl, you're not going to see her again anyway, right?
Yeah.
So if you make an absolute twat of yourself, who cares? You know, you're never going to see her again, or the likelihood of that is extremely low to the point where it's like negligible.
Yeah.
So you might as well do it. You know, rationally, you have so much more to gain than you have to lose. Even a shit approach, you know, that will still benefit you in the long term because you're still learning from that. You're still going to get that experience, and it's just going to make the next one a lot easier.
This is why we wouldn't recommend you to start with, say, in a closed setting, like in your classroom or in a work environment, because yes, people will probably talk, the gossipy girls will talk about you, the gossipy men will. If you're new to cold approach, definitely do it in an open environment, right? So like the street, so you're approaching complete strangers as opposed to like people you already know.
And the sad thing is, obviously, you know, most guys, when they don't know about this stuff or they're not into it, they're relying on those warm approaches, the social circles.
And those are genuinely tough because people will talk.
Yeah, and you've got to do it in a certain way. You've kind of got to do it very subtly. It's difficult. It's difficult to navigate, and the consequences are quite big as well when things don't work out, which is the main disadvantage. Whereas here, it's like you've got room to fuck up, you know, and no one cares, you know. You do an interaction with a girl and she thinks you're a bit weird or a bit creepy. It's like, who cares, you know? At least you've done it. At least you learn from that and you move on to the next one. It really doesn't matter. It's just really a case of just having to embrace it, you know? It's this internal monologue where the nervousness stems from, and it's entirely kind of self-conjured up. It's not actually what's based in reality or like based on the actual external world. It's just internal projections.
I think it's also useful to know where this anxiety comes from. So I'm sure many of you guys have probably read or listened to enough videos about evolutionary biology to know that the actual fear, the anxiety, is really logical in a way, because back in the day when we were hunter-gatherers, we would probably only meet 200 or 300 people in our entire lifetime. So therefore, how many eligible women could you actually try and mate with? Not many, maybe 4 or 5, who knows, maybe fewer or more depending on, you know, your status. But you didn't really have that many shots, right? So you better not fuck it up. So the actual approach anxiety makes complete sense in that environment, okay, where there's a lot to lose. So it's about remembering, okay, this is where this anxiety comes from. It's like, it's ancient, prehistoric. So you have to keep reminding yourself, okay, this is just not a useful way to see things anymore. You need to do a few hundred approaches, I would say, in a relatively short amount of time to desensitize your brain to approaching. If you do, say, 500 approaches in a space of a couple of months, the brain will start to like absorb that message. Actually, you know what? Every time I approach, nothing bad happens.
It normalizes it.
It normalizes it. So the trick is not to just do 500 approaches, but you need to do it in a relatively short time period. There's no point in doing 500 approaches in a space of 10 years. You're not going to really beat approach anxiety.
And it's also about maintaining some degree of momentum, because obviously, okay, maybe in your lifestyle you can't sustain that many approaches, you know, month to month or week to week or whatever.
Sure.
But at least doing a little bit week by week, or even every day, you know, 1 or 2 approaches every day will have a massive impact in terms of keeping it sustainable and more manageable. Because the thing is with this stuff, you know, it might feel like in certain periods that you've kind of conquered it and you've cured yourself, but it doesn't really work like that. If you take a long break, it will come back again, doesn't it?
It will come back,
Yeah, almost guaranteed.
When I go out with complete beginners who are trying to like overcome their approach anxiety, usually the first approach is the hardest. Often by the 5th approach or the 6th, you can see the student visibly sort of like become a bit more relaxed. You know, the body isn't so tense, nor the face. They start smiling, and they'll often say, "Oh, this is not so bad," right? Do not go out if you got like paralyzing approach anxiety if you're going to be doing fewer than 5 approaches. At least 5,
Yeah,
preferably
in the
more.
early days, for sure.
Yeah, in the early days, because then what will happen is, hopefully, you'll have 1 or 2 decent sort of reactions that will relax you, and all of a sudden you think, oh, this is not so bad. Therefore, you're more likely to then go out and you don't give it another shot.
Yeah. A lot of the time, it is literally just a case of just mentally just saying to yourself, right, I'm just going to let go and fuck it, just do it anyway. Embracing the nerves, you know, just whatever, and just saying fuck it. Because, you know, ultimately it is you know, about just moving your legs, opening your mouth, and just saying something. Just 1 or 2 words is okay. Just something at least. And then you kind of build up from there. And you build up previous reference experience. Then you think, okay, I did this. Now, how about the next time I do a little bit more, and gradually kind of go from there. Really.
Every single approach that you do, give yourself a pat on the back. Like, realize that, you know, your balls are getting bigger. You're being ultra masculine, because like the vast majority of men are never going to have the courage to approach a woman, to do a cold approach. So each time you do an approach, see yourself as becoming more and more masculine, becoming more and more badass. The guys that I fucking love are the ones that like getting brutal rejections, but somehow they still, you know, have the courage and the grit to keep going. With each approach that you do, fucking pat yourself on the back.
It's also worth just touching upon like why it is important to be relaxed. Even like, let's say for like intermediate guys, why is it important to be relaxed when you're actually having an interaction? And that is mainly because like the more kind of relaxed you are, the more present you are in conversation with the girl, and therefore the more clarity you have to kind of develop your thoughts and project those thoughts and articulate those thoughts into words. So yeah, generally speaking, the more relaxed you are, the better your interactions will be, the better your conversations will be. So when you're kind of thinking to yourself, let's say you're an intermediate guy, you're thinking to yourself, oh yeah, my conversation's really basic. I wasn't able to just have like a more, a kind of a sort of more effective or better conversation. It was just really, really simple and basic. I could have done this better. I could have done that better. A lot of the time it is literally just being more relaxed will then enable you to actually think of things more creatively on the spot, to the point where you are having those better conversations. So that's another thing. It's like you don't want to kind of look at someone, try and emulate what they're doing because they're having these cool, amazing, elaborate conversations and thinking, right, I must do that, and then trying to replicate that when you're still a little bit nervous in conversation. It's better just to try and manage that nervousness initially, go into the conversation, and then naturally you'll be able to develop those. If that makes sense. Yeah.
If you're genuinely nervous, sometimes just calling it out can help. And what will happen is, a lot of the time, the girls say, oh, that's fine, you know, I get nervous too. I've had, you know, instances where girls have said, oh my God, like, yeah, me too, I have social anxiety. Don't underestimate just how many girls there are out there that have issues with social anxiety. So you don't need to be some perfect sort of Lothario to get women. You just have to be man enough just to sometimes approach. You can be nervous, that's fine. Sometimes girls will forgive you for that. You know, it can come across as authentic. You know, a lot of girls won't hold that against you. You can actually work in your favor. So you don't need to be perfect. You don't have to be completely smooth. You know, just say, listen, I don't usually do this, so forgive me if I'm coming across as a little bit nervous, but I had to come over and say hello because I thought you look nice. You know, authenticity can go a long way. And if she's kind of mean about it, no problem, find someone else to speak to. When you're starting off, you might be really nervous. It's about trying to break that initial vicious circle, that bad chain, right? Where you're nervous because you've never done it, and because you're nervous, when you do go in, you're more likely to get a bad reaction, and then it sort of feeds on itself. So it's about trying to break that loop. It can be a vicious circle where you've just had a bad reaction, you're more likely to then become even more nervous than before. So that's why when you're getting started, you do need a wing or a coach to sort of help you.
When girls call guys creepy, it's a similar concept.
Yes.
It's just an external projection of the guy's nervousness. He's not actually creepy. He's just a normal guy who's just not used to speaking to attractive girls. The girl might think, oh yeah, it's a bit creepy. And then he gets that negative reinforcement kind of
yeah.
thing, and then that's his negative reference experience, and he carries on like that.
Yeah.
And then he has more negativity gets projected, and then more negative feedback. So it's a continuation, isn't it?
Yes.
It's tricky, obviously, in the initial stages. That's where we come in. We can help you with this. We offer coaching. You're obviously doing most of the coaching when I'm not around in London. So get in touch if you are interested in getting that head start. Send us an email, and we'll take it from there.
Cheers for watching. If you'd be interested in one-to-one coaching with me, where we'll go out in public and work on your approaching girls, or more generally with your social confidence, please visit my website ed-game.com.